not yet.
Now we're live.
Oh,
Hello.
we're live. Hello, world. Welcome to Serial Ports, a show that starts way too early on a Sunday morning for me. And that's my fault, and I have to live with it.
Well, it's not. No, it's not just your fault. It's that we had to find a time when both of us would be awake in different time zones, and also not currently eating any food or doing anything.
This is true. Although I do remember in very early conversations, one of us saying, "Oh, and David, you could be eating some cereal," and the other one going, "Oh, that's a very good idea." And I remember thinking,
"Oh, I don't remember that."
I remember at the time thinking, "God, very, very baffling for David to be referring to himself in the third person in this particular conversation." But that was an early part of the conversation that we were having, and then I think both of us genuinely just forgot about it.
Well, I mean, I'm simply not prepared to exchange Sunday dinner for a bowl of cereal. Come on.
Well, I have to question then your commitment to the show.
Do question it.
Well, I'm gonna.
There we go. I am not sufficiently devoted to this. There it is.
You know what? It's nice to have that finally on the table. This is our fourth one of these.
Yeah.
And the first one in which we are stretching credulity a little bit by doing something that is not actually based on a Saturday morning cartoon. We are kind of cheating a little bit because it is, I think, particularly with the character designs, it is mostly based on the comic. But in the 90s, there was an X-Men cartoon that was quite popular. There was a Spider-Man cartoon that was quite popular. They did do a crossover, and so we are.
Fallin', Jeff and Tim Fallin'. Oh, if only
yes.
I could hear the music to this, I would be having a lovely time.
I wish that every time we've tried to give you music access, it has not worked. But this is Spider-Man and X-Men in Arcade's Revenge, in which Spider-Man tries to rescue the X-Men from Arcade, who has kidnapped them, only to then himself get kidnapped, and then each X-Men has their own special, unique level. And this game is notoriously hard and frustrating to play. But I mostly picked it because the music is absolutely cracking in this game. It is such a great soundtrack.
I'm just going to have to imagine it and/or bring it up on YouTube for me to listen to separately to the game actually running it.
Yeah, I watched a speed run of this a while back.
Yeah.
And someone was able to finish it in like 20, 30 minutes or something. It didn't take them very long. It might have been even quicker than that. But I've never finished this game. I think I finished a level. I've done this level.
Yeah.
This is me being smacking into a wall. I think. Hang on. But my memory of this game is I'm bad at it. And it's very, very difficult. I've done this. I can finish this level. I can finish Wolverine's first level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've done Gambit's level, but I think I used a lot of save states to make that happen.
Right. Now, one of the realities of streaming games in quarantine is that there's basically not much point in me trying to watch the live version of the stream, like on Skype, because it's 2 frames a minute. There's not much to look at. So I'm mostly going to be looking at the actual stream, which has a significant delay, and I'm going to find out what that delay is for for anybody who wants to use this as a reference point by waggling my hands around now, and then saying when I see myself waggling my hands around on the stream, so that we get some sense of how long it takes. It hasn't happened yet.
So, I imagine it's going to be somewhere between 10 and 15 seconds.
Yeah, maybe even longer.
Ooh.
Let's see. Because what I've done is I've clicked the you get the option of like what amount of latency you want, and I kind of want there we go.
That was quite a bit.
I don't want people to have to watch a really, really choppy bad stream. And so I think I put it on like whatever the best quality is, which does mean that that I'm still talking about this. What an interesting topic. I'm going to have a little look what's going on in the chat. One Chop's here and says this is a game where Wolverine gets his teeth kicked in by a Donkey Kong machine.
That is partially true. No, I mean, not literally
Max?
true.
No, it's alright, you didn't say it was literally true. Yeah.
It's a figurative truth.
Max says, oh god, there's 3 Follins on this one. We've got a full house of Follins.
Yeah. It's the Follin hat trick. That's what they refer to it in the industry.
Yes. Well, just when Tim Follin was on, that was referred to as the Follin hat trick because he was like worth 3 other composers. So,
is there a word for a hat trick that is 3 hat tricks? If you get 3 hat tricks, does that have its own?
Is that a baker's hat trick? No.
No, but I mean, because 3 sets of 3, that's Pertwee, surely.
I wish I got that joke.
It was a very dumb classic Doctor Who joke that.
Cool.
As I said, it didn't sound funny to me. So I think I knew what was going on there.
Still, I still want you to make that sort of joke because one day, an old Who joke is going to really land, and it's going to be very funny.
We'll get there, one day.
Yeah.
One day,
I'm currently, on an idle and non-concurrent watch through of old Who. I must have mentioned this to you the last time we played it, when we were playing the Doctor Who game, and I haven't got any further than then because I haven't watched it since. So perhaps I ought to, because the next one is it's Series 2 Daleks story.
Yes.
Hartnell?
Yes. So that's the Dalek invasion of Earth, I think.
I think so. So I'll gradually creep up to the point where I get jokes about old Who.
Dalek Invasion of Earth, later adapted into the movie Dalek's Invasion of Earth 2150, starring Peter Cushing.
Oh, that one! Brilliant, yeah. I saw that in a hotel in, London it was, when I was going to a comic convention, and I met some people there for the first time that I'm still pals with, and who, work in publications that Abby works in and things like that. It's a lovely little world, is UK comics. And wouldn't it be nice if we could see each other again?
It would be nice to kind of remember what the outside world is like.
That would be lovely. Speaking of the outside world, Rockman Senpai says, hello Dave, I'm Brazilian and love your videos, Super Mario Land, Ocarina of Time with Brental Floss. Yeah, thanks Rockman Senpai. Yes, me too. I like those ones. Those aren't aging badly. Maybe a little bit. Maybe in there's certainly there's 1 or 2 bits that are aging badly, but the main bulk of it, that I'm concerned with, which is the work that I did on the backing music, I'm still very pleased with. And I might be making a video soon if I get my stuff together about the ways in which our intentions at the time don't necessarily match up with what's worth saying now. But who knows?
This Tommy gun. What are those boxes called?
Boxes?
You have the box, you wind it up, and pop goes the weasel.
Oh, hey, Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box. How I cannot believe I forgot that, because there is literally a fast food chain over here called Jack in the Box.
Sure, that's how people remember things in America. It's whether or not is
there a fast food chain of it or not?
Yeah. What's that hedgehog called from all those games? Oh, Sonic. There's a fast food restaurant.
There's a fast food restaurant named after him. Yeah.
Who's that sailor who used to eat spinach?
Oh, McDonald's.
I can never remember. Yeah, that's him. Yeah, Ronald McDonald.
Yes.
Yeah, the old Fleischer McDonald's cartoons are the best.
They're pretty great.
But I do have a soft spot for the end theme from McDonald and Son.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I will tell you this. Dean Cain may have become something of a right-wing arsehole in his later years, but I still really like his take in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of McDonald.
Are you telling me that is there a fast food chain called Superman?
There should be.
There might as well be.
Yeah.
At this stage, with a Sonic one and a Popeye one, I've never quite understood why they're allowed to do that sort of thing and be as confusing as that.
Well, I think it's large. I think both Sonic and Popeyes. I don't think Popeyes predates the cartoon or the character. But I do think that it is considered a general enough name. So wide is the selection of names that you can have here in these United States that I think that they said, well, yeah, of course, Popeyes obviously is a person, and not the cartoon. So, I'm taking a licking here. I should probably look for some kind of health-shaped. But the one thing I like about this game, if you're Wolverine, you can put your claws in and out.
Hey! That's great!
Which means you can just straight up punch a person, and it does less damage.
Have less of an effect on that person, yeah. Nice. That's really... I mean, well, that's kind, isn't it? That's him showing his kind nature.
Yeah, you can just punch them instead of slicing them into teeny tiny little pieces.
Yeah. That's brilliant. That's so good that I'm now watching the actual stream because I want to see that happen again. Yep, there we go. I was wondering if there was any animation involved, but there isn't. They just go away and come back. Ugh! Oh, look at those revolting teeth in the background.
Yeah, this is kind of a creepy, like, toy box circus situation.
Yeah.
And I've got so little health left. I'm begging this game to give me liberty, and do not give me death.
It's interesting how early this game has gone straight to the toys and clowns level. Usually, that's sort of mid-game, isn't it? After a city level and stuff.
Yeah, well, you choose who you want to play as, and I've chosen Wolverine because I know
he just lives in the toilet, does he?
That's the particular trap that Arcade has set for him. Storm's level, you know, Storm, that the X-Men who controls the weather. What they did for Storm is genuinely stupid. They gave her you know that bit in Another World where you flooded the thing and then you have to swim down and cut the power?
I haven't played it yet.
Oh, really? Oh, well, it's that bit I've just described to you that you haven't experienced.
Yeah, that bit. I know the bit, yeah.
Yeah. Everyone knows it.
Yeah, but what about it, though? Why are you telling me about it?
It's just that bit. It's a whole water level. Storm doesn't get to do any weather stuff. She just gets to go swimming. There are some odd choices where the levels that they put together don't necessarily. And I think from a villain perspective, it's actually quite brilliant. Because from a villainous perspective, you don't want to put them somewhere where their powers are going to be effective. But if you are, say, 9, and you like, I don't know, Storm, and you know that Storm's thing is she can control the weather, and in a game, you don't get to control the weather, that does feel, to me, a little bit like cheating.
Yeah, it's a bit silly, isn't it? Like, for some reason, this game is reminding me a bit of the Captain Planet game.
Yeah.
Imagine how silly it would have been if, Wheeler hadn't got a firepower to use, and so on. I can't remember any other character names or powers.
I know they exist.
Yeah.
Oh, I died again. Oh, this is
the chat has been running away from us while this goes on, so I'm going to read some of it out. We've got... what have we got? I should have found something to read quicker. Really. Like maybe before I shut you up and said, like, stop while I read this. Dum-de-dum-dum-dum.
I refuse to speak until you read at least one chat.
Okay, then. I saw, says Max, an interview with Tim Follin where he clarified that it was Jeff Follin who did the music for the Wolverine stage, and that everyone was very creeped out by this track while he was composing it. Jeff was the weird one, apparently.
I like Jeff because that piece of music is probably my favourite piece of music in the entire game.
There you go.
It's one of my favourite pieces of music in any video game.
Oh, well. I look forward to hearing it. Perhaps I'll look it up in a minute. Maya says, Sonic the Burgers must have been livid when they didn't get the Sonic movie tie-in. Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, it feels like the definition of a no-brainer.
Well, I imagine that it was pursued probably from both ends, and they just didn't get... I've distracted myself by saying the phrase "from both ends" while referring to fast food.
See, that's a rookie error.
Yeah. It's a shame that I said that.
What you should do next time is not say that. See, Gambit's level does give him the opportunity to fling cards in a manner which is... Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have actually just killed Gambit. So let's move on.
Oh, right.
What I think is interesting, I'm looking at the art style for all of the X-Men. The X-Men get this very nice kind of clean comic book art, with no lines. You'll notice there's not a tremendous amount of like line definition. And then you get to Spider-Man, and he's all lines all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He's toe-to-tip lines.
Well, I suppose that's because he is covered in lines. He's got the webby lines all over him.
But I feel like you could get away. If considering the art style for literally every other character, I feel like you could get away with those lines by making them just like a darker red. I'm Cyclops.
You're right there. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're right there. You are Cyclops.
Yeah, correct. Tanuki Billy has pointed out something that's worth pointing out, I think, which is that really, when you're playing as Wolverine, it shouldn't matter as much for you to get injuries.
Yeah.
Because he's supposed to be able to regenerate.
It's the same problem that you get with... Oh, no, I've fallen on the rail tracks and electrocuted myself.
Silly.
And that's game over. This is going very well.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh, well. Let's just... All I have to do now is do that one Spider-Man level again. Where you have to collect all the bombs in a certain order. Yeah, that's the same problem that every Superman game ever made has. Where Superman can and frequently does die.
Yeah. You see, that's the problem, isn't it? When you get a Superman license and you go, with this license, what I'm going to make is a normal game. No, you should start thinking about, okay, what cool new kind of game can we make where you can't die? And that's not the point of it, because it's a different sort of game.
Yeah.
It's a different game mechanic where just whether or not you die is no longer the thing you're doing.
I don't know that anyone's ever put serious thought into how would I make a Superman game that doesn't make me, hate myself. That's not the right response, Ben, but that is...
You just free association finished the sentence there, didn't you?
Yeah. I think what I did there was I have my diary open on another page on the same screen. So that's what happened. I was accidentally reading from my diary, and my diary says I'm Superman.
Yeah. What would a Superman game be? So like, you're flying around all over the place, and you can punch through anything, and that's not a problem. I guess what you would do in that game is just have a lot of fun. So you're racking up points depending on how much of an evil enemy base you smash to bits. Say.
Yeah. I mean, I have a vague memory of the Superman Returns game on the Xbox 360 being not awful, but that was basically Grand Theft Auto where you got to be Superman, and if you did bad things and hurt people, you turned into Bizarro, and I think that's really. A great way of doing it, yeah.
Yeah.
I may be misremembering, but that's where my brain...
Pleased to meet you, misremembering.
I was nominated... I was nominated misremembering 2016, but I didn't get it.
Well, I was not, and never will be. I have a notoriously bad memory. In fact, I'm going to exercise that because I've just realised that I've forgotten to have the tablets I'm supposed to be taking that may help with bad memory. Hang on.
That's the most delicious and cruelest of ironies. You say that, and it turns out you've forgotten you've actually taken them. Oh no, I have taken these. Never mind.
It turns out that bad memory is a symptom of vitamin B12 deficiency, something that I've been informed by doctors that I have. And I'm supposed to have jabs in the arm of it at regular intervals, but I'm no longer allowed because of the coronavirus.
Yes.
So they've given me these tablets to have, which is absolutely useless because the reason I get jabs in the arm is because apparently I don't digest it. Anyway.
But you keep forgetting that until after you've taken the meds, ironically.
Now, it says on these that I'm supposed to take them, if possible, preferably with a meal. Well... I don't have a meal to hand, but I do have a digestive.
A meal isn't able to come over. There's a quarantine. He's stuck at home.
Exactly. Yeah. He's feeling really lonely.
Yeah. Plus, even if there weren't a quarantine, he probably wouldn't remember to show up.
No. He's feeling so lonely that the manufacturers of this tablet have taken pity on him and said everyone should try and have them with him.
Yeah.
His loneliness is really broadcast out that far.
They had the labels printed up and then suddenly, stay at home, isolation order, dang.
So I'm going to eat this digestive in lieu of a meal.
Oh, I do love a good digestive. I haven't had digestives in a while. My favorite local tabletop gaming store, which is Geeky Teas here in Burbank, frequently they have a wonderful little selection of British snacks. It's not it's not like going into a Londi's or anything, but you do get some good chocolates, and there's some great biscuit selections, including digestives, rich teas, and Jaffa cakes.
There you go.
Oh, this guy's got a mortar. That's cheating. There we go. I feel like I was saying something. Yeah, so I have occasionally had some Lionel rich teas here in the United States, and some digestive biscuits. I like a good chocolate-covered digestive.
I don't, and I'm notorious for this among my friends who think that I'm absolutely mad. But do you just have an ideological biscuit?
An ideological biscuit. Do you just have it?
I do.
Sorry, I blanked on what I was doing, and it turns out what I'm doing is playing a bad game.
Yes.
Do you just have like an ideological objection to putting chocolate on digestives, or is it a flavor profile thing? Oh.
It is a flavor profile thing. That's a great way of putting it. It's not a flavor thing. I have nothing against the flavor of chocolate on a biscuit. It's a nice flavor. My problem is that I also really enjoy the flavor of digestive biscuits and hobnobs in particular. Those two particular ones are the ones that I shall focus on in my TED Talk. And those are two flavors which are completely and utterly drowned out by the taste of chocolate. So if you have a chocolate-covered hobnob or digestive, you frankly might as well just have a chunk of chocolate. So I don't really see the point.
I'm sorry, I don't see your objection here. Your objection is have some chocolate.
My objection is I like digestives and hobnobs and chocolate, right? Those are three things I like. If you have chocolate-covered digestives and chocolate-covered hobnobs, all you are tasting is chocolate. That's one out of the three things. So, whereas, if I have some digestives, I get to taste digestives. If I have hobnobs, I get to... Do you see what I mean? If I'm in the mood for a hobnob, and I'll eat a hobnob, I've had a hobnob. If I'm in the mood for a hobnob, and what I've had is chocolate. That's not what I was looking for.
Do you know what's very good?
What?
Storm can't leave the water. As we all know, Storm is an amphibious creature, incapable of leaving her natural habitat, which is any level from Act 2 of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. That's right. And does the water... I can see that the water's rising. Does it rise with you, or is that incidental?
It rises as I destroy these kind of tank things.
Ah. So she is just straight up a fish. So this is a mermaid level.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ostensibly, yeah. But it's simultaneously one of the easiest and hardest levels, because your health is also your oxygen. So your oxygen will deplete the more time you spend in the water. But it's very easy to recover oxygen, because you just put your head up like this. There you go.
That's how I recover oxygen when I'm swimming.
Just put your head up.
Yep. In exactly the way she just did. So it's an Echo level then. It
is very Echo the Dolphin, yes. If Echo the Dolphin was an X-Men game and it was released on the Super Nintendo,
and it starred Storm instead of Echo.
Yeah. It's not a bad way to describe this nonsense. I need more air. Give me more air. There we go. Boom. See, this bit of the floor is just kind of leaking oxygen, as floors frequently do.
Somebody said somewhere in the chat, and I can't find it now, that there is a Superman game that doesn't give you health as Superman, but it gives the town health. So depending on how much destruction you stop, is how long the town survives, and that seems to me to be the right thing to do.
That's an interesting take on it. I like it.
Oh, it was Dr. Fruitbat who said that, and it was Superman Returns.
That's the one I like.
There you go. Well, you should have known that then, really.
Yeah, well, it's been a while. To be honest with you, I think I only ever got to play the demo. Oh, I've died.
Mayhem Mario Brothers says, "What happened to Brent? Does anyone know?" That's my friend Brent Black, presumably, is being referred to there, who I did a video with like 5 years ago. And well, what happened to Brent is that he started a podcast with Travis McElroy.
Yes.
Out of podcasts called Trends Like These, and that ran for the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 years. And I want to say that. I don't think it's true, though. Maybe 3 or 4, I don't know,
they've done it for a bit, yeah.
And it ended last week.
Oh, wow. I did not know it ended. I fell off. I haven't listened to it in a while.
Yeah, well, I think they felt similarly. There was a sense of, do we still have to do this? Everything's horrible now. We just wanted to do jokes about the dress being blue or gold or whatever it was. And so, yes, they've wrapped that up. I mean, Travis left a little while ago, but Brent and Courtney Anno were left over, and they've gone, actually, can we not? And so they've stopped.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's a shame because it was one of the podcasts that I've been using to, get me through the last several years. But I get it because of that. Because I needed to use it to get me through. That's like, oh, well, what did they use then?
Yeah.
Nothing. They had the responsibility of actually reading all of the horrible stories they had to cover.
Yeah.
So
it's like Travis and Tybee used to do a podcast called Interrobang that I was very, very fond of. And
yeah, me too.
That's actually, if I may be real for a moment, may I have a moment of realness with you, David?
No.
Oh, well then,
yes.
Nothing.
I've changed my mind, yes.
So I had, and I've been very public about this. This is not, a shocking revelation. I think you're aware of this too. I had like a full-on like mental breakdown in 2015. I have a 6-month gap in my memory. I don't know what I did, what happened. I know I was living with friends. I was living in their spare bedroom for 6 months. It was a really, really rough time, and one of the things that got me through was Interrobang. Like Interrobang got me through a really, really rough, difficult patch in my life, and I feel very fortunate because Tybee is a friend of a friend, so I actually got to meet her and thank her.
Oh, brilliant!
At a party a couple of years ago, and then I bumped into Travis. It may have been the other way around actually, but I bumped into Travis at Comic-Con in 2016, and I got to thank him for that as well.
Good.
And then then the world went sideways, and they decided they wanted to end the podcast because they went from talking about things that annoyed them to the thing that annoyed them, which is the Tangerine Nightmare that is currently sitting in the White House. And I think when that becomes the focal point of any podcast, I absolutely get why you would then say, I actually can't do this anymore. Because all we're talking about is this very difficult to process kind of global catastrophe. And I absolutely, like, it sounds like that's similarly why they've ended Trends Like These. And
that's exactly it, yeah. And just to finish off the question, though, Brent made a game called Use Your Words. I've played it a lot. It's good. You should all go and play it.
It's very good.
Sort of Jackboxy, but I think funnier than Jackbox.
Yeah, I have, and I'm being completely honest, I've bought this for 3 separate systems because I don't like the idea of not having access to an immediate copy of it during social situations. So I have the PC version that I can put on my Surface, and my Surface is very portable. I have the Switch version, which is on my Switch, which is incredibly portable, and then I have the Xbox version, which I bought on a whim when I took my Xbox to a business retreat.
Oh.
So I have it. I've given Brent. It's like $25. I've given him like $70 if math is how math works. It's not, but never mind.
If math is how math works.
That's not how math works. I'm bad at math. Bad on courses math, and I know he doesn't get 100% of that money because of how these things work. But I bought that game 3 times because it's an absolute hoot. Like I think that great game.
It's real good. So you should play that. And last thing is that just out of the blue, he went through a weird, sudden burst of creativity, and he wrote a full Star Trek musical.
Yes.
And if anybody wants to see that, it's on Twitter at UASTPM. And no, I can't remember what that stands for, but it's UASTPM on Twitter. So and you can just watch it. There's a video you can watch and hear the whole thing. It's good. So that answers that question. There's a
unauthorized
question,
Star Trek parody musical.
There we go. Which was, Dave, do you ever update your banner? And I assume that what they're referring to is the banner that I can't seem to get rid of, that acts as the default, like, I'm about to stream banner, which is me and Brent singing at a thing like 5 years ago. I've tried. I have replaced that banner so many times, it doesn't replace. It just comes back. Genuinely, I don't know what to do.
What you need to do is you need to call Bob YouTube and you need to say, Bobbert, my man, I can't update this file.
Yeah.
And then he'll say, well, I don't know what to do about that. Have you spoken to Greg Dailymotion? And you say, Bob, you fool, you charlatan. You know Dailymotion doesn't do live streaming. What Dailymotion does is tries very hard to compete with YouTube and then gives up and doesn't remove bootleg copies of British television programs.
Hello to Cyan and Mark M, who just popped up. That's all, just hello.
Hello.
And hello to you as well, Ben.
Oh.
Hello.
I mean, I wasn't expecting a hello. I never expect a hello.
I know.
It's... I don't know why. I think, you know what? You know what it is? I don't know. I don't know what it is. The end. God, this game is just so hard, and the controls are different for every character, and the mechanics are different for every character. And the only character you get a tutorial on is Spider-Man, because you've got to run around collecting these bloody bombs. It's such a hard game. Why did I pick this? Oh yes, because it's solely for the music. There's
what
one
a beanie-shaped head Spider-Man has in its little intro screen there. It's like a wobbly bean. It's like the Gooby Dolan Spider-Man.
Yes. It's actually Strongbad.
Oh.
Strongbad is dressed as Spider-Man. We all know this. We all know that Spider-Man's secret identity is actually Strongbad.
Yeah. And Strongbad's secret identity is actually Ed the Duck. It just keeps going.
Yeah. Ed the Duck is, of course, Gordon the Gopher.
Yes. I wonder if it was. I wonder if that's the same guy. I don't know.
Certainly seems to be the same puppet.
Well, anyway, more on that later.
Yes.
For now, I'm a bit watching this game. Because I'm watching it in a low frame rate. I'm a little bit unsure whether you're collecting or supposed to be collecting the little blue things with the little red lights in.
Yes. So on this level, to gain access to Arcade's base, he's left pieces of key. As a kid, I always thought of them as bombs. I'm disarming bombs. But I guess what they really are is like Bluetooth key fobs.
Oh, I see, but you've got to get them in the order that they flash.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it doesn't let you know you're close to one until you're close to it, and then it says, hey, you're close to this, and you respond to that by going, I know, I can see it.
I can see it, yeah. Oh, that's his spider sense, right. This isn't as good as the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game, is it?
I will be honest with you, it is not on that level, and I don't think it is foolish to expect any Spider-Man game to be on that level. I think that's the... I'm going to be honest, and this may upset some people. One of only two good Spider-Man games. The other one being the game based on Spider-Man 2.
Yes,
which was very good.
I don't think that's a controversial stand.
Listen, someone out there is gonna say, hey, Spider-Man and Venom in separation anxiety were bloody marvelous. How dare you? That's
it's somebody from Yorkshire, so we can narrow it down to that region at least.
And it's actually Martin Brown, former creative director of Team 17. I don't think that's actually true, but that's the first Yorkshireman I could think of off the top of my head. I don't even know if he is from Yorkshire, but that's who I think of when I think of that voice.
Okay, I don't have any kind of mental image or mental audio of what anyone from Team 17 sounds like.
Having I back in 2003, 2004, I launched a Team 17 fan site.
I remember, yes.
Yeah, very cleverly named Dream 17. I put all of 7 seconds thought into that title.
Very good.
I hate the logo. I really want to redesign that logo.
Do you need to redesign the logo? Because is the website still there?
Oh, it's still there, yeah. So we used to be at dream17.co.uk, and then I lost that domain, I forget how. We ended up at dream17.info. And then we lost our hosting, and now we are being hosted by abime.net, who is a big Amiga community website. They're the guys who... That's where Hall of Light is. The English Amiga board is on Abime. So... that's where Dream 17 is now. And the thing I'm most proud of with Dream 17 is that we got full permission from Team 17 to make every single one of their Amiga and CD32 games available as a free download.
Oh yeah, I remember. Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so you can, if you have an Amiga emulator, and you can get one very easily, like as a fully licensed Amiga emulator called Amiga Power, not Amiga Power, that's a magazine, Amiga Forever, that you can pick up at AmigaForever.com. I think it's like 20 to $40 somewhere in that region. It's a wonderful little prepackaged emulation package. It's got all the Kickstart ROMs, all officially licensed, all above board, all perfectly legal. You can
I might have to use that to replace my current Amiga emulator. See you, Amiga.
Oh, that joke was just for us, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah. Yeah, you can then go to dream17.abime.net, or I think dream17.info redirects there now, and download every single one of Team 17's games, including the original Worms. And Worms the Director's Cut, a game that sold only 5,000 copies.
Really?
Yeah, it only sold 5,000 copies. It did not sell very well. It was Team 17's very last Amiga game. They didn't do a tremendous amount of marketing for it because the Amiga was pretty much dead at that point. They didn't advertise in like CU Amiga or anything. But
I remember definitely being still into Worms, and that would have been the sort of thing I would have wanted. But I didn't. Am I right in thinking it was AGA only or something?
Yeah, it was. AGA only, Amiga 1200 and 4000 only.
I didn't have one of those.
Wouldn't run on the CD32. We had a 1200 and a CD32, and I was never able to get it running on the CD32. Which, in fairness, it wasn't built for that. So I hate these fucking clowns. I'm sorry for swearing. I'm so sorry. So I'm not awake in any way, shape, or form. Those clowns, you kill them and then they respawn behind a pillar out of sight.
The way Wolverine should.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean he should always do it behind a pillar out of sight, but he should respawn, whereas clowns shouldn't really. I think ideally. Yes. Well, I don't know about ideally. I suppose wouldn't it be interesting if in the human race, clowns can respawn?
I think you're using the word interesting, where I think the word horrific is perhaps.
No, I disagree with that. I have to go to bat for clowns to a certain extent because I knew one. I was taught by a clown how to come back from the dead.
That's
it's something you can learn from
a clown and only a clown.
From a Jedi.
Yes. Darth Plagueis the Silly, as he was called.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I was taught by a clown. He was my drama teacher at university was a clown, and he was perfectly fine. Yeah. You know, I don't really quite understand the. Well, I don't quite understand the trope that people are scared of clowns and clowns are scary. I feel like they might just be thinking of, it, which.
Well, I mean,
which is.
It's a chicken and egg situation. Like, what came first, the fear of clowns or the fear of Pennywise, who is also a clown?
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to look into it, but I think probably Pennywise. I bet he was written because a clown is such an innocuous and fun thing that children like. And then now, because of Tim Curry, everyone's like, "Ooh, actually, clowns are scary." I don't know. I'd have to look into the history of whatever the proper word for clown phobia is.
I think it's a psychological thing. I think honestly there's a psychology behind a face with a painted smile on it when you can see that the person is not smiling. I remember reading an article in some Brain magazine, like I think it was Brain Quarterly, and it was about the psychology of phobias, and one of the explanations for fear of clowns is the face, because they have a painted on smile, it sits uncomfortably with us. In many ways, it's like those bugs that are painted to look similar to wasps. It's like when
who paints those guys?
There's a little man in Chiswick who goes around painting them, and it's a terribly time-consuming job, and no one wants it. But you can tell it's not a wasp because those particular bugs fly in very kind of they make very sharp angle movements. I'm waving, move my arm over here where you can't see it. you can always tell when it's a real wasp, because a real wasp will just be an arsehole to you, and one of those fake wasps are too busy flying at perfect right angles to be able to cause you any harm.
They're quite friendly.
Yeah, but they look like wasps on account of their war paint. From that guy from Chiswick.
Well, the way that you can tell they're not wasps is that the paint runs, because he has to do it so fast. He has a production line where they buzz past, and he's like splish, splish, splish with his spray cans, and because of that,
it's. I'll be honest with you. I think he's let his craft go a little bit. He doesn't put the care and attention in that he used to in the early days, you know. No,
because do you remember years ago it used to be, hoverflies aren't wasps this and hoverflies aren't wasps that, and no one's tried to teach me that since the 90s.
Yeah.
No one talks about it anymore. And that's another thing, by the way. The guy who makes the alphabet, you don't hear much from him anymore, do you? People always used to be going on about, this is a W. Oh, here's how you draw a P.
Yeah.
You never hear any of that stuff anymore, do you?
The upsetting thing is, he wrote one song. He wrote, ABC, and that's a belter. That's fantastic.
Oh, and then, it's his opus. As
it really is, and it's a problem because he follows that up with Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and it's the exact same tune. It's the same tune. They're really...
Except now it's just about nothing. It's not helpful. I know. I don't need to learn what stars are, and even if I did, I couldn't do anything with that information.
And and none of the information in that song is useful. Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. How I wonder what you are.
Tell us.
Give us the information, you cowards.
Do you know, the interesting thing about that, though, is that the reason that I read this, the reason that he actually came up with the alphabet and then wrote that song was so that he could then write Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And then, because you know what I mean? He wouldn't have been able to communicate it otherwise.
So
he had to invent the alphabet.
You do have to come up with a means of communication.
Yeah. So once everyone had learned, because the alphabet song went really viral.
Yeah.
And once everyone had learned
YouTube hit.
that, it was a big, people would dance to it on TikTok, all of that. And then, as soon as everyone had learned that, then he's able to do Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And Hickory Dickory Dock as well. He was only able to do that because of the popularity of TikTok. Yeah. Everyone already knew how to pronounce "ok."
Yeah.
And the concept of clocky noises. But that one didn't catch on. No one reckons that clocks go hickory dickory anything these days.
No, I haven't heard a hickory or a dickory in a dog's age.
No, haven't heard so much as a dickory. Haven't heard a dickory in donkey's years.
Dickory donkey, yeah. That's the expression. It's the saying.
It used to be. It didn't really catch on as much as some of that other stuff, though. Mark M says, I recently completed Axiom Verge. Not sure how I missed it, but it was the best Metroid-style game I've played in years. I don't know why Mark M has decided to say that, but I'm going to say the exact same thing. I finished it just a week or two ago. After years of meaning to, I actually started playing it. It's a Metroid-y game, and but that uses... Do you know what it is, by the way, Axiom Verge?
I have heard the title.
Yeah. Well, it's a Metroid game, and it really replicates Metroid. Like, it feels a bit NES-y. It's not a Metroidvania. It's just a Metroid. But the gimmick that it has is really interesting, which is that it uses the concept of glitching graphics as part of its game. So you get a glitch gun, and you can shoot it at monsters, and then their sprites glitch, and that gives them, then they do different stuff. They can, phase through walls and stuff then. It's very interesting. And I was playing this a few years ago and enjoying it. And then I just updated my Radeon software and Windows 10 at the same time. I don't know which of those two things did it. But after that, it never scrolled properly again. What should have been a normal, smooth scroll motion became like little jumps and skips. It was awful, and I tried everything. I tried, because I thought it was a VSync problem, but thinking about it now, I'm not sure it was. But anyway, I tried, to force... I've forgotten the term now. The thing that stops Oh, wait. VSync is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, VSync, that thing that's VSync. What's that called?
What's that called? Well, I tried to force that in Miradi, and that didn't work. So anyway, a couple of months ago, the old motherboard blew up, and I had to get a new... And so I was like, well, let's see if Axiom Verge works now without all those updates. And sure enough, it did. So I've forced myself to play from start to finish of that game before I install the Radian software that I need to make it so that when I want to try and play Knights of the Old Republic, it automatically switches to 4x3 instead of having to do it on the monitor myself.
Yes.
So.
Do you remember when you have to manually change
time.
aspect ratios on things?
That's what I'm having to do now when I want to play. I've got two things on the go. I'm playing KOTOR and I'm playing Deus Ex for the first time ever.
Oh,
and
nice.
for both of
That's
those
the game
things,
that Elon Musk is in, he thinks.
I have to go and physically switch ratios on my monitor, and that's no walk in the park. It's a very convoluted system of menus and sub-menus you have to go through on my particular monitor.
Well, now, we're a lad. We had to change aspect ratio ourselves.
We did. And all you got out of it was the chance to de-gauss your monitor now and then. Oh, a joy for the ages.
Oh, I remember. Ping!
Yeah, getting a good boing on. You let it save up, though. Leave it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then do a big boing.
Yeah.
Oh. And you know why we did that? You know what it did to the monitor? Dunno. It just meant
I genuinely
it went boing.
have no idea what degaussing actually did.
Nope.
I don't think anyone does. I think they just put it in monitors as a fun little treat.
Yeah, they should put it in modern monitors.
That was unfair, physics.
Was it?
Physics
Wasn't
working
looking.
against me.
Mm.
I'm going to give Gambit a go.
When we were talking about the alphabet song, Maya said he tried writing one for numbers, but he's still writing it.
It's funny because it's true. What's the? I'm reminded suddenly of the what is the largest number you can think of? The bit from Look Around You. Yeah, where they did maths. God, that was that show was so good.
Oh, it was.
I even liked the second season.
Yeah, that was good. At the time, I was like, this isn't as good. But every time I see a bit of it, a little clip, I'm like, wait, this is amazing. And I still get Macadano in my head from time to time.
Oh, I'm stuck now. Oh, Gambit's about to die.
Oh, dear.
Because I've run out of playing cards and I can't smash these tiny tiles out of the way.
You've run out of playing cards? What is this, Aladdin?
Yes, it's Aladdin. Secretly, it's Aladdin. It's always been Aladdin.
That explains it then.
We might want to switch to Ed the Duck.
Okay, well, we'll do that, yeah. There was something I was going to read in the chat. What was it? Well, Cyan there says, I couldn't read English very well. I don't know what this is a reply to, so I just like it on its own. Cyan says, I couldn't read English very well as a kid either, so everything was very mysterious. I just like that as a standalone statement. I couldn't read English very well, so everything was mysterious.
Yeah, there is something quite, what's the word I'm thinking of here? I'm not thinking of a word. That's what it is.
I can't help you.
So I'm looking at this. Now, this is paused, but...
Yeah. Oh, look at it. That's almost exactly the same as the Spectrum intro screen, I must say.
Let's check this bad boy out.
And Wilson, too.
They're crediting a best boy on this video game.
Yeah. Full Rand.
Who is Wilson? Should I know who Wilson is?
Yeah, Wilson. Okay, so I better explain the whole thing for everybody watching. So, many... Do you remember, in what might have been our last stream, I was reading about Gordon the Gopher?
Yes.
Gordon the Gopher was a hand puppet who was poking out of the desk behind the desk on children's television in what was... Okay, I'm going to start this properly. Kids' TV programs on the BBC used to just be on. But then, in the early 80s, they decided to give it an in-studio presenter, who was Mr. Philip Schofield, who had a little puppet with him called Gordon the Gopher that was little more than a sock with, a face put on it, and it had a little squeaker in the mouth. No, probably not even in the mouth. I'm sure it was a separate squeaker held in the other hand. But it used to squeak anyway and didn't talk. And then Philip Schofield left the broom cupboard, as it was called, the little mixing desk studio where that was the presenting used to go on between episodes of Popeye and Son and Hero Turtles and things like that. And then he went to Saturday Morning and he took Gordon the Gopher with him, and he was replaced by, eventually it settled down to Andy Peters and Ed the Duck. And this is Ed the Duck who, evidently was popular enough to get his own computer game. He had a little... he was cooler than Gordon the Gopher, and you could tell because he had a green mohawk. But other than that, he was just a really sweet little puppet of a duck with a little flappy beak. And this time he spoke with a duck call thing that the person had in their mouth going... And that was it. And he was, and the joke was that he was rude, and Andy Peters could understand what he was saying, but he was just making squeaky noises. Wilson was the other in-studio character, lesser remembered now, called Wilson the Butler, who was great, and who was just a man standing off to the side of the camera, and he would just reach in with his hand, and he was in a sort of butler suit, and he'd have a little butler glove and a little butler sleeve, and he would just reach in and do thumbs ups and stuff. It was hand-based acting. He didn't have a voice of any kind. And Abby's saying things. Do you want to come over here and say them? He and Ed were enemies.
That's why he tried. The hands just tried to crush me.
Sorry, just a moment, Abby. Ben, can you hear what she's saying from this?
I can hear her. Yes.
Okay, continue, Abby.
Okay, so the best moment me and my brother remember is when Wilson grabbed Ed the Duck off the puppeteer's hand and flung him across the room.
There you go.
That's proper class. That is.
Yeah.
With this, they very clearly tried to simulate kind of the physics and movement of something like your basic bubble situation.
Yes.
Except instead of making it fun,
is this even a Rainbow Islands engine or something?
I would say it's they've tried to mash up Bubble and Rainbow Islands, and I will go far enough as to say they failed, because the movement on this is awful. This is a sticky game, and I've just been fired from whatever movie it is. You know how they have a director to direct the weather at the BBC?
Yeah, they do, and he shouts "Game over" if the weather reporter dies.
Yeah. Angels, Def Jam, I'm guessing Angels and Def Jam are not the developers. I'm guessing those are the companies who pirated this, or the groups that pirated this particular version of the game.
You could be right there. Ian Copeland is a name I recognise.
That name does seem familiar.
Ian Copeland, who's that? An American music promoter and booking agent who helped launch the New Wave movement in the United States.
Huh.
A legendary agent. I don't know if that's going to be the same Ian Copeland.
It's probably not. They're really leaning into... Rapping Dazza J did the stunts. That's amazing. There's a lot of... there's a camera operator.
Loader. These people aren't... So these are probably people who worked on the game, but aren't being properly credited, because we don't know from this what they did.
Also, I like... The company name is Impulse with a Z. It's just how or Z, in fact. Either way is good. I do like these BDSM bumblebees that have a ball gag in their mouths.
Yes. I think I was correct in interpreting that as a big red nose. But
yes.
Now it's changed. It's just changed right there on the screen.
Well, they're also wearing that kind of... It's either like black latex or leather as well, so it's...
I found out who Ian Copeland is, by the way. I've done a bit of Googling.
Mm-hmm.
It says... So, Ed the Duck is a Rainbow Island-style platform game that was released by Impulse on the Spectrum, Amstrad, CPC, C64, and Amiga in 1990, based on the BBC television puppet of the same name, who first appeared on the broom covered with Andy Crane in 1989, quite right. The 7th round is infamous, because it has only 19 stars instead of 20, therefore rendering it impossible to clear. However, when Ian Copeland converted it for the C64 and Amiga, he corrected this problem and even added a cheat mode for the latter one. So Ian Copeland is a porter.
That's why I've probably come across that name on other things I played on the Amiga. But I would say that he saved this game single-handedly. Did you play it on the Specky, or did you play it on the C64?
Specky. I didn't have a C64.
Ah, yes. We didn't have a Specky.
No,
when I was a kid.
I was a Specky man, and I'm a Specky man now.
Hey! Oh, comedy bronze.
Yeah. But I didn't remember that what you're doing in this. So what you're doing is you've got a little tux on, which is not normal for Ed the Duck, by the way, everyone. He normally had I think a t-shirt on, but he was dressed up to be a weatherman.
Yeah.
And he's firing snow, is he, at the baddies?
Well, you would, wouldn't you?
Well, I suppose you would if you were the weatherman.
Yeah.
So being a weatherman, that means... Sorry, that was an old gendered way of saying weather fighter, we now call them.
Yes.
When you're a weather fighter, you...
No, the modern term is snow patrol.
Oh, you can control snow. You can fling weather. I wonder if this is this then going to flipping egg? That's a lot of bees.
Yeah. It's this is a game in which Ed the Duck heads north up the level, yucking people's yums because he disapproves of their BDSM lifestyle, and so he throws snow at them.
Ben, their BDSM lifestyle. You see, but they are bees.
Yes. Well, they could also just be very kinky flies. Or...
Oh, yeah, I suppose we don't know what they are, yeah.
Or wasps. Or those things that aren't wasps.
We don't know how much is and is not costume.
Yeah. They could just be people in jetpacks.
I suppose so, yeah. They could be people in bee-shaped BDSM gear.
I'll tell you what they could be. Here's what it is. They're Ed the Duck from the future. Trying to tell him, no, you've got prejudices and misconceptions about the kink community that really should be addressed. Now that you yourself have made several discoveries, but he's mistaking them for like sexy bees, and is just obliterating them, and he just doesn't know any better.
And so he has to keep coming back in time in the future, over and over again, because he remembers how many of him dressed as a kinky bee he killed or froze or whatever it is he's doing. So he knows that even though all but the last example are futile, he still has to go back that number of times, because otherwise that's the time zone, the timeline scuppered, isn't it?
Yes. He knows he's doomed to failure, but he has to try. Now the goal of this is to collect all of the stars, right?
I assume so. Yeah.
Given the description, because I've just been merrily heading up the level without...
I wasn't gonna say anything, because I assumed you knew something I didn't. Yeah, you've been not collecting the stars, and that seemed like an oversight.
Well, if you don't collect them, the levels are much easier.
Well, but they're not, are they? Because do you remember I just said that you need 20 stars to complete the level, and one of them doesn't have 20 stars, so you can't complete that level. So yeah, I'm afraid you're going to have to start collecting them.
Ugh.
Michael Warren said, I've been looking forward to Dave explaining Ed the Duck. Well, there you are. Your day has come.
You know what? A YouTube series that explains weird British cultural children's nonsense might actually be quite fun.
Yeah. I'm game.
Let's figure that out and let's do that, because then we don't have to get up at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that would be instead of this.
Oh no, we can do both. I just thought you'd be sick of me after a while.
What time we have to get up? Right.
See, here's the hand. That's Wilson right there.
Wilson the butler.
He's just a hand.
Is he doing anything bad? He's a baddie in this? Yeah?
Yes, he tries to grab Ed the Duck.
You see, that's not what Wilson was. He wasn't just a hand. He was a human standing off camera, reaching in. That's
very poetic of you, David.
No, it's not. It's just literally the case.
In many ways, are we not all just standing off camera trying to reach in?
Oh, that's very poetic. Yeah, I like that. Ali Star says, I've always liked the way Dave explains things, Lamau. Good. That's good news, because that's a thing that I do. I believe, says Mickey Husky, that Ed didn't originally have the green mohawk. I think that came later. Yes, I think you're right there. Yes, I seem to remember that I may have seen a clip of him, showing off his new mohawk, and Andy Crane or Peters going, "Oh, look at you."
Actually, they got married, so now they're the Andes Peter-Crane.
Yeah. Something very nicely smelling is happening over in the kitchen area. Gosh.
Rub it in, why don't you?
Mark M says, Kids TV used to be so great. Saturday mornings with Gilbert the Alien. Yeah, there was a game I coveted about Gilbert the Alien on the Spectrum. That was the one I coveted. I'm sure it was on other systems as well. And I never got it. And then I had a little look at it on the internet not long ago, and it doesn't look like something I need to really concern myself with. It doesn't look nearly as... But isn't that always the way? Well, you don't know. You're all young. Back in the day of the Spectrum, there was a very interesting thing that used to go on, which was that... tell me if this is the same on the C64, Ben. Wait, was that what you had, C64?
Oh, I had an Amiga, but yes. I'm going to say yes.
Yes. Yes, but... Did you start off with an Amiga, or did you have a lesser computer area before that?
We started with we had an Amiga 500, and then we got a 2000, and then we got a 1200.
Oh, okay. Well, then this won't help. This won't be something you experience on the Spectrum, which was a lovely system, and I genuinely didn't want for more when I had it. I wasn't like, oh, I don't like these graphics. Like that may be because I wasn't old enough yet to appreciate the difference, but. Nevertheless, it was a very simple system with very, very simple graphics of the sort that would be, frankly, unacceptable today. And even in a retro game. Most of you wouldn't like the way it looked. But on the back of the box of a lot of the games, they would use screenshots from Amstrad CPC.
Oh, yes, I do remember that. They did that on the Amiga. The Amiga version of Hero Quest, which was one of the few games I had a legitimate copy of. The graphics on the back of the box, the screenshots were all from the PC MS-DOS VGA version.
Oh, what a shame, because that's a great-looking game. And I think on the Amiga as well. I don't think I've really looked at the PC-looking version. Just the Amiga one looks great to me.
I very recently, one of my roommates had said he asked me, "Are there any Amiga games that you think I might enjoy?" So we sat down and played. We played Hero Quest on the Amiga one night, and then the following night we did a mission on Space Crusade. Both by Gremlin Graphics, by the way. Wonderful adaptations.
Very good company
of board games. And I feel like I've missed a star, but I also feel like at this point I'm too far gone to care. But yeah, I have very very strong memories of playing both Hero Quest and Space Crusade as a kid. I remember playing. We had a demo disc of Space Crusade that I think my dad and I both played together frequently. And
you may have had that.
My dad enjoyed that demo so much, he went out and pirated the full game. So
hooray!
Yes.
Thanks, Dad.
Yes. Parent of the Year.
You've been asked in the chat, by the way, whether or not you can use frozen enemies as platforms.
I did try that, and you can't, unfortunately.
That's a shame. That seems like exactly the mechanic this game wants.
It does feel like... I thought it would be like Bubble Bobble, where you can pop them and they shatter into tiny ice shards.
Tiny arse shires.
Tiny arse shires, yes. Arsingshires, of course, where I grew up.
Yeah, that's a shame. I do remember not thinking this game was absolutely dreadful on the Spectrum. I didn't play it a lot, but I did play it a number of times and went, "This is all right."
Well, I've got 1 star left to get. We might see me for the first time in the stream today. I might finish a level.
I mean, and we can see it. It's just whether this specky fish will let.
Oh, there's a little poem.
The director's happy. We'll call that a wrap. You've finished the level avoiding the traps. But you can't stop now. There's more to be done. Wilson still waits, so off you must run. And then there is what looks nothing like Ed the Duck. None of the individual features of that drawing of Ed the Duck resembles the equivalent feature on Ed the Duck.
What that looks like to me is looks like a homemade Ed the Duck sex doll. I'll
tell you what that looks like. That looks like a homemade Ed the Duck sex doll made specifically by Keith Harris. How proud
It maybe Orville and Ed had a child, and it was never. So now this appears to be the exact same level, but flipped.
So I was wondering what would happen. Oh, really? Do you think that's actually what it is?
This feels like exactly the same level, but reversed.
Right. So my question was going to be: are all of the levels going to be weather-based? Is this a weather game?
I think I'm in the Weather World, which was also my favorite Kevin Costner movie.
Yeah. But if you're now in the same level but reversed, are you in the Weatherworld Netherworld?
I'm gonna say yes.
No,
but only we end this particular interaction.
I was wondering if, after we get through the Weatherworld, we end up in a different world, and if so, what would that be? But it looks as if that's you died again.
I did die. And it's not the same level, but it does give the impression of that by starting off very similarly. Structurally, they're very similar. This reminds me, there was a game for the Amiga, and I don't know whether it was of a legit release or whether it was a public domain thing or not, but there was a game that we had when I was a kid called Bananarama, where you would... Right. It was very much this kind of thing, where you had to kind of ascend up a vertical level. Okay. But it was... nerds. But it was... there was a slowly rising water coming up behind you, and I loved that game so much. It came free with an Amiga magazine, which is why I think it might have been a public domain shareware kind of deal. But I remember watching my dad format the disc one day. What? I guess because he had to he needed a disc to save something. I remember watching him putting the disc in the drive, not knowing what it was. Like, I couldn't read that he was formatting the disc. I remember as a kid thinking, oh, he must just be testing something out, and that's the nearest disc to hand. But then I went to play the game, and it was gone forever. And I actually never played it since. So I don't know if Bananarama is any good or not. What I might do today, see if I can track it down. And
that's absolutely dreadful. I'm shocked. Well, I don't know that you're going to have any luck, because, of course, I mean, it was bold of the person who made that game to give it the same name as a very popular band of the era. And so that's all that can be found. If I put Amiga Bananarama, you just get stuff about Bananarama, including, some people who happen to also mention the word Amiga while talking about the band Bananarama. A very popular band. Like, it's not... This wasn't an underground band that a few people had heard of, and so it was all right to name a game Bananarama. Like, that's really weird of them to have called the game that.
You know what might be good? Is I could check the Hall of Light and see if it's listed there.
Oh, was it definitely called Bananarama? Was it not called Top Banana?
It might have been Top Banana.
That would explain it. A very popular TV show. But I'm now finding stuff about a game called Top Banana.
I think as a kid, I might have just called it Bananarama.
We called it Bananarama.
Yeah.
It's a going-up game.
Yes. That's it, yeah.
Water Rising Yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what I used to play as a kid, yeah.
It's very odd-looking. It's chaotic-looking backgrounds and platforms there.
Yeah, my memory is that it's very... my memory is that the colours were very gaudy, but I don't...
Very. Yeah, very, very, very. Or at least in the... And it seems to have an intro that's like a straight-up, like rave track.
I might have to download that and play that later today.
Yeah, I've now looked at it on 2 separate videos, and they both play this odd rave track at the beginning. And I'm not talking about the music, I'm talking about the visuals. You know that the videos that you used to get for rave music, where it's like images flashing up and cloudy colours. So, and the whole thing is, you're like a little lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called Top Banana. I think I found it.
Top Banana.
I think you're going to be able to play that.
I think I'm playing that later today.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
Oh, I loved it as a kid. Like that.
Yeah.
And the Thundercats game, which was very bad. Did you ever play Thundercats on the Amiga? I know you never had an Amiga, but is that something that you've, like, visited?
Well, I mean, I've got to stop you there. I did have an Amiga.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, no. If I've been talking as if I don't, it's only because I haven't got to that part in the story yet. No, I was a Spectrum kid up till '93, but then it was Amiga, and I was very much an Amiga person from that. I mean, I still consider myself an Amiga person now. The computers have been downhill ever since, as far as I'm concerned.
When I was in my misspent 20s, I was one of those people who couldn't fathom. I couldn't fit in my head the idea of why anyone would want to play games on Linux, because Linux feels like if you are choosing to be a gamer who puts Linux on their computer, like you've made a choice to make things harder for yourself. It's like seeing the Xbox 360, the Wii, and the PS3 in stores and going, you know what? I think I'm going to buy the Ouya They're what I don't know if it's still quite as fervent, but I know that the Amiga gaming scene was very, very aggressive in the early 2000s about how much better the Amiga was, and the trouble people would go to set up, power Amigas and what have you, or PPC Amigas. And I remember thinking, what are you doing? Like, I grew up with the Amiga. I love the Amiga, but even I will let it go. Its time has passed. It's not happening.
I remember that. I thought the same thing. I'm not so sure anymore, because was I just towing the Microsoft party line? Because the Amiga was a more pleasant computer than the PC I had at that time. So I don't know. I can see why they felt that way.
Yeah, but I mean, by the same virtue, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love the Amiga, but the Amiga, Commodore kind of made a lot of really naff decisions in the early 90s that made it difficult for them to compete with, I mean, if you look at the Amiga as a home computer system, fine, brilliant. As a gaming system, you can't compete with the Super Nintendo, and even to a certain extent the Sega Genesis. Like, even the AGA was like a last-minute rushed replacement for another graphics architecture that they were working on that was supposed to compete with VGA, and what we ended up with was something that wasn't really that good. Like, by the time AGA had come out, PCs were doing VGA, and PC games were certainly they didn't sound better because you had all the Sound Blaster nonsense, but they looked better in a lot of instances. This stupid DSM.
Oh no, he's gone into a loop.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Amiga, but think about this: the Amiga CD32, which was, let's take an Amiga 1200 and slap a CD drive on it, and that's the system.
And also, by the way, this speaks to what I think the character of the Amiga is, which I don't think we've addressed yet, which is that you're saying that it was difficult to compete with the SNES. That surprised me to hear you say that, because I was like, what do you mean? It wasn't competing with the SNES? And of course it was, as a games machine. And I realized that the reason I thought that is that I think of the Amiga as being entirely distinct from games consoles, because the point of Amiga is mouse-based games. Yes. So Syndicate, that sort of thing, which I now recognize, but having seen how much faster and smoother the PC version of that ran, there's really no point in playing the Amiga version. But nevertheless, it's that sort of thing, Syndicate, Settlers, that I think of as the point of the Amiga.
Yeah.
But if I'm being really honest about it, I was playing as many joystick-based games. That's the other thing, maybe. Maybe it's about controls, like systems. Mouse, joystick. I guess that's what Amiga's for in my head. And that's why I haven't played Super Frog on emulator, because I don't know how to plug a joystick in to make that work,
I just use this, but I did buy... I bought a little adapter that was designed to let you plug a Sega Genesis controller into a PC. Because I don't know if you remember, they had the exact same end, and you could use a Sega Genesis controller on the Amiga. And I thought, well, that's clearly how it's going to work if I use this little USB adapter. And the answer is no, that is not how it works. Because what you end up with plugging an Amiga joystick into the Sega Genesis thing is you end up with inputs that don't quite work properly. So I have two Amiga joysticks, and I have two CD32 controllers, because I had plans to do a big Port Center episode about Street Fighter 2 and all the various versions of Street Fighter 2 that were released on the Amiga. And I never got to do it. The reason being, I mean, I did eventually do the episode, but it was not what I wanted it to be, because we had technical issues. But I got a couple of people who have played Street Fighter 2 on a tournament level, and I wanted to have them play the Amiga version of Street Fighter 2. And,
that would have been brilliant.
And I got a couple of people together and went to capture the footage, and then the Amiga didn't work. The Amiga stopped working, and I thought the Amiga had died. And I discovered very recently, like maybe a year ago, that the accelerator board that I had plugged into the Amiga had just shifted and wasn't plugged in all the way.
Well, I suppose that's good news for the Amiga and your ability to use it.
Yeah.
But bad news for how silly it was that you didn't think of that at the time.
Yeah, because I forget the accelerator board is in there half the time.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing about that accelerator board is, here's how badly designed the Amiga 1200 was. So the memory registry for that accelerator board is also shared by the PCI slot on the side of the Amiga. So when I got myself a little PCI slot, a PCI card specifically to plug an SD card into the Amiga so I could transfer files from my PC to my Amiga, which didn't work. Even when I got it working, it didn't work, which it sounds a little redundant. But I had to take the accelerator board out to plug the little PCI or whatever. I've forgotten the name of the card already. Whatever that slot on the side. I had to unplug the graphics accelerator to use that card slot.
Oh well, that's a shame.
Yes. Yes, it is. There's no story. That story comes to a screeching halt and then I gave up and I didn't try again because I don't know what else I could possibly do in that situation.
I suppose it's normal. I suppose it's even desirable for a story to reach a conclusion.
Yeah,
but it did leave us out on a little island there by ourselves. I'm gonna have a look in the chat and see what's going on. The
music's quite good.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Not that you'd know.
No, I can't tell. There seems to be some... Maya Franklin says, I've known so many of them with green mohawks that it's difficult not to think of Ed the Duck as a lesbian. I can see that being a problem, but I don't think it is a problem. I think you should just go ahead and think of Ed the Duck as a lesbian. There's no evidence that Ed was not a lesbian all along.
Ed could be short for Edith.
It could be short for anything. You could just call yourself Ed.
Yeah.
Not even short for anything. Yeah. E-Space Production says, "Hey, short-haired Dave." Okay, I guess this is me with short hair. I've had this sort of hair for a very long time now, but I did used to have quite long hair, so I can see why that would be a surprise.
Were you known for your luscious locks?
I didn't think so. No, I didn't think I was, but maybe I was. Ali Star said, and I don't really understand what this means. You two's when, Lamau? I may need help with that. I don't know what you're trying to say to me there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm having to pass you saying it, and you can read the words. I'm hearing the noises your mouth has made trying to read them, and I'm not sure. Oh, I keep dying. That bee keeps getting me. I'm not sure what you're saying, and it's caused a problem in that I'm bad at this game now. I was brilliant in this game, and now I'm having to process this thing. I've been brilliant. I've actually 100% of this game 7 times. This is the 8th speedrun I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I should check speedrun.com to see if that speedrun record that we tried to do for Count Duckula was ever listed.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'll do that now. How do I do that? What do I look up?
Just go to speedrun.com and then search for just search Duckula at the top in the search field and see if the game ever got listed.
Let's find out. Duckula. No. In fact, the only thing that comes up for Duckula is a username.
Yeah.
Someone called Duckula from Bangkok.
What they've probably done then is not accept the listing.
I don't see that as being a sensible decision. It's a game.
It's a game. We're the only one who's ever submitted a time for it. Maybe it's because it was part of a longer stream and it's not its own standalone video.
Right, yeah, maybe. Today, somebody called Salwatts has submitted a speedrun of 1 hour, 9 minutes and 56 seconds for the game Satellite Rain, which means that someone managed to get all the way through that game without being incredibly bored and disappointed. So well done to them.
Or maybe they were incredibly bored, but they still pushed on.
Yeah, maybe. Max has tuned back in and says, "Oh heck, I see you're still stuck at the creepy Wolverine level. Can't believe you got turned into a duck, though."
That was me doing the clown laugh in the background of the Wolverine level. And also the beginning of the song Feel Good Inc. by Gorillaz.
Mark M says there is a Walker-type game remake out now, I think.
Oh,
cool. What, you mean like Walker? Like...
the Psygnosis game, Walker, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark M also says, making the speech app on Workbench say naughty words was lots of fun. Yeah, of course it was.
It was just making it say bollocks over and over again. That was my go-to.
My go-to was, and this I recommend doing this next time you're on Workbench. Did you have was this built into Workbench, or did I find this elsewhere? The thing where the speech synthesizer had a face.
I don't remember Say having a face.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, the one that I had, it was a very simple face, 2 squares for eyes and a sort of a diamond for a mouth, and that diamond would animate in a quite vector graphicsy looking kind of way as it spoke. Well, anyway, what I used to do was I would just hold my finger on, and I can't remember if it was the letter U or the letter O, but I think it must have been the letter U, and then I used to put OP at the end, and that would make him say and that always made me laugh. I was a big fan of that.
I did that, I'd say recently, this was maybe 9 years ago, Google Translate. I just mashed a bunch of A's, O's, and B's into Google Translate in English and just made it hit the button to make it say it, and then it just says this woman's voice going I think I've loaded the video to YouTube. I think it might be on my old YouTube channel.
Oh, I'm going to go and find out. That's great.
Yes.
Yep, you have.
Are you gonna watch it right now, aren't you?
Yes, and people will hear me giggling at it without being able to hear it. That'll be good, won't it?
You just paste the link in the chat.
Good idea. Didn't think of that. I'll do it now.
Some of us think these things through.
Yes.
It's very rarely me, so I'm quite proud of myself at the moment. Let me have this. Bees!
I like the bit where she goes, baba.
Sometimes just thinking about it will make me laugh. I don't even need to find the video. It just makes me happy.
It's how sensibly she's saying it.
Yes. It's
the only...
It's very sensible nonsense.
Yeah. The only bad thing about it is that it does only last for 7 seconds. I want one that goes on for at least 20.
Well, the good news is you can make your own bloody video.
Yes, I think I might have to.
Yeah, you just type it into the left-hand side on Google Translate and pick your language, which was invariably going to be English for this to work.
Yep.
And then you freeze some bees to death until they defrost.
That's what I like to do. So, am I right in thinking that the levels are laid out so that the further up you get, the snowier and colder it gets?
Yes, which I quite like aesthetically.
Quite good, isn't it? Yeah. Although I'm not really sure that I've noticed any weather in between sort of sunny beach area and snowy peaks area.
Yeah, it's not especially snowy.
No, I don't really know what the, I don't know. Weather isn't like a rainbow. There isn't sunny beach at one end and snowy snow at the other end, and then different gradations between the two in between. Other weathers are stuff like wind and rain.
Now, to me, you're describing that as a fundamental flaw of the universe. I'm going to describe it as something we can fix together. So what would the gradient be from... Well,
I mean, in the actual real universe, it kind of is like that, because there is a gradient between sunny beach weather and snowy weather. But that gradient doesn't incorporate the other kinds of weather, such as rain and... I don't know, what other kinds are there? Wind, hail,
head, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Yeah. That's pretty much it, I think.
There we go, that's my new high school.
Well done! Well done.
I got Syria, which was me trying to type in cereal, thinking I had one more letter than I actually had. And then butts.
I mean, I'll allow it because it was a 5-letter thing. Normally, I would insist on bum, but that's only for 3-letter entries.
There are certain words that I always thought of as like fundamentally American.
Fundamentally
that always felt kind of like American in that kind of weird twee sense that doesn't quite feel real. Like cute. Americans love describing, oh, that's cute. Like that's a very American word that is now part of my vocabulary. And but Americans do not say bum. There are almost no circumstances under which they will say bum.
Well, except when they're talking about a tramp.
Even then, that's not very common.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Tramp is also a word that you don't hear over here at all.
No.
I find, and maybe it's just because I live in loony liberal California, but most people I know, when they're referring to the homeless, just refer to them as homeless people, which is perhaps what they should be called. I think maybe everything else is perhaps like bum, tramp. I think these are words that are a little bit derogatory.
I think so.
Yeah. I feel like I live on this level now with all these sex bees.
There is one American situation in which the word tramp is heard, and that is that Ursula the Sea Witch calls Ariel a little tramp in The Little Mermaid. Well, but of course she was using a different definition.
Yes, that is contextually a different, basically a different word.
Yes, she was calling her a slag.
Yeah. So you can't say that unless you're in a Transformers comic.
Yeah, that's the only place.
Yes. Which is, I think, one of the reasons why the UK had its own Transformers comics.
I think so. I'm looking now at the Spectrum version of this game, and in it, you can fly by holding, I presumably by holding the jump button down. See if you can do that.
I mean, I'm holding it, and nothing is happening.
Maybe it's just represented by the fact that you've got quite a long, high jump. On the Spectrum, he's flapping his arms while he does that.
He will flap his arms as he drops, but you don't see.
No, Ed is definitely flying a bit higher than the jump takes him on the Spectrum version. Oh. That's very odd.
Physics on this are appalling. In that it doesn't have any.
And on the Spectrum version, you're. I was going to say you're not freezing bees. You're just killing them, but no, you are freezing them. It's just that. It depicts that by flashing them on and off instead of putting snow on them. So there we go, trivia there for you.
On the Spectrum, you say?
On the Spectrum, I say.
Look at all these umbrellas.
All right, I will. Let me go back to the tab. There we go, I can see them. Thank you for alerting me to that. Ali has clarified that U2's is a company that makes figurines based on YouTubers and content creators. Was making the joke because someone mentioned Dave figurines. I see what you mean.
I was given a pop vinyl of me by my friend Mike the other day.
Oh, really? That's nice.
I say it was a pop vinyl of me. What he did was he took the 12th Doctor's body and Prince Harry's head.
Well, that's how most people think of you, I think, then.
I do get told I look like Prince Harry frequently.
Do you?
Which is hilarious to me because I don't look anything like him other than I'm British and ginger and beardly.
That is literally it.
Yeah.
And but that's running along the same principles as about 10 to 15 years ago. I would occasionally get called Harry Potter by passers-by purely because I was wearing glasses.
That's not a lot of thought's gone into that one.
No, especially since and this was before the movies were happening, and there was a ginger one in Harry Potter, and I was surprised that I wasn't being compared to that one, but I wasn't.
Am I the only one who thinks that the director here looks a little Trumpian?
Let me have a little look. Yes, no, he definitely does. You have to see around the little beard that he's got, but I did see around it and didn't notice it first.
Because even his and I've gotten to a point now where I can now do this first level without dying, which I think is very impressive.
That's
well
very
done,
impressive.
Me. Even the hat, the director's hat that all directors are legally obligated to wear in cartoons, has a Trumpy hair kind of quality to it.
Yeah, he's very Trumpy-headed.
Yes.
Did you know there's an Ed the Duck 2 game?
Yes, I did. I found
it. Might be worth.
I found it when
might be worth the look because it isn't a going.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I've just been talking over you. Then say it again.
Oh, we've both been talking over each other. I think there was a sound issue, but
I think there was.
Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, there's an Ed the Duck 2. I found it when I was building the list of games that we could be doing for this.
Yeah, right. Well, looking at it on YouTube, it might be worth a look because it seems not to be a going upwards game, and instead seems to be a going sideways game.
Oh, so it sounds kind of like comparing James Pond to James Pond 2. Oh no, there's a good game.
Oh, was James Pond 1 a going upwardsy game?
Well, I mean, it wasn't so much going upwardsy as it was a free swimming, free all the lobsters game, and there was I think there were some up and down levels, but it was less platformy than James Pond 2.
I am looking at a video of this game to find out whether there is life beyond the weather section. And what's interesting is that, the video I'm looking at only gets to the next level. But sure enough, it's the best we could have possibly hoped for. It's the special effects department.
Ooh.
And that means that it's all aliens and spacey.
I'm not convinced that's a beard. I think that might be part of his, cravat.
Could be.
He could be just jowly. Whew. I'm going to try again. This time I didn't make it past level 1. I'm embarrassed. By calling attention to my brilliant jumping skills, I doomed myself to failure.
Oh dear.
And now,
See, I've just had a listen to some of the music from the game, and it's got samples in common with lots of other games, hasn't it? It's got bits of Zool, bits of Captain Planet. That sort of sound. There's
part of me that wonders, it must have been... I mean, the Amiga didn't have MIDI music.
No.
But there must have been voices that were built into the sound chip that are kind of common and shared. Because there are so many games that share these sounds.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it worked that way. From my memory of making, certainly from when I was making music on Pro Tracker and so on, you didn't have access to any built-in sounds. So I wonder if they were built in the other way, which is to say handed out with the dev kits.
Maybe.
That actually, to me, sounds very likely. Lemmings as well. That had those sounds in, didn't it? In fact, I may be thinking of Lemmings, actually. Yeah, I'm thinking of Lemmings. That's what all the sounds are from. These are Lemmings sounds. No, I've talked myself out of thinking that again.
No, I think you might be right. There's certainly Oh No More Lemmings. There's some shared instrumentation here that is very Oh No More Lemmings.
Oh No More Lemmings. One of the secret, undersung great soundtracks on the Amiga, I think. Really, people just pay attention to the Lemmings 1 music, which is all... knockoffs of stuff and, tunes you might recognize done kind of dodgily. Whereas, Oh No More Lemmings, incredible basket of songs. Well, it's lovely.
Do you know the story of why a lot of the music in Lemmings sounds like it might be music from other things that you already know?
Go on.
Well, when they were developing it, they hired a musician, and the musician did a bunch of music that actually made it into a very early demo for the game that is literally just rip-offs of pop songs.
Right.
Because you have to remember that the 80s that still happened in video games.
That was perfectly normal, yeah.
Yeah. Only now companies are starting to think, maybe we shouldn't be doing that. So they at the very last minute, at great expense, brought in another composer to redo some of the tracks.
Right, and that would be Tim, I suppose.
Yeah, and they had a very, very short time frame for getting it all done, which is, I think, one of the reasons why some of the music is kind of like staples, like She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain and 10 Green Bottles and things like that.
Oh, so that was the hasty replacement music, because I was thinking that.
I genuinely can't remember. I think some of it might be the other way around, if I'm being honest. But
well, what I was wondering was it all going to be songs So She'll Be Coming Around the Mountain, but also Kylie Minogue or whatever, and those treated as a similar thing, and then suddenly the Jason Donovan tracks had to be replaced, and Tim was brought in to write his original tunes. Maybe.
Yeah, that might be. Because I know that some of the original tunes sound similar to some of the songs that were cut. I think maybe he was given a here's the music we've got. Just change it to something that is not recognizably that.
Oh, I'd like to.
But some of it's on YouTube. You can search for unused Amiga Lemmings music, and you'll know because it has the old early unused Lemmings logo, which is like this big like forced perspective grey brick of Lemmings.
Oh wow!
Letters.
Yes, I've found it. Lemmings early demo, the Lost Amiga soundtrack (emulated).
Yes, that'll be it.
Huh. How exciting! Thank you for telling me about that.
You're very welcome. It's a fascinating. Oh, I know this because How Much Is That Doggy in the Window was originally the Scooby-Doo theme.
Oh.
And when you play Lemmings on the Amiga, there's a sample of Scooby-Doo that's still used in that piece.
Oh. What is that? Is the weird? I'm trying to think what that would be. Is the weird?
Yeah,
noise,
yeah.
Is that like
that's Scooby-Doo? Yeah.
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah.
What a strange track that is, by the way.
You know, it's coming up to 11 o'clock in the morning here. It's going to be 7 o'clock for you. So we usually wrap things up within the next 20 to 30 minutes. And what we've done is we've watched me do the same 2 levels over and over again. There's a part of me that thinks, what if we spent the last 20 to 30 minutes actually just playing Lemmings?
Hey, I mean, worse things could happen, couldn't it? Yeah.
Now what I've got to do is I've got to check to see if I have Lemmings on here.
You must have.
I'm sure I do. Let's have a quick look. Let's move this down here where it's not in the way of your camera. What we're doing there is we're revealing all the tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
Because whenever I move the windows in front of your Skype stream, people can see it. Let me have a look. Shared ADF Lemmings. There we go. Okay, so let's do that for the next. It's not strictly speaking in keeping with the theme, but I don't want to play the duck anymore.
Do you have Oh No More Lemmings? Because then they'd hear the music we're talking about.
Oh, do I? But I was never any good at Oh No More Lemmings.
Oh, is it significantly different to play?
It's just very difficult.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
So I have... Oh, no. Hello. I have disc 1 of Lemmings, so now I have to dig up the second disc, which is...
Now you're going to have to go down the market.
I'm going to have to... Yeah, down the Milton Keynes market. Get myself a... That's where I think most of our Amiga games came from, was the Milton Keynes market. My grandmother lived in Milton Keynes. I remember one year for Christmas she got me some Amiga games, and it was bootleg copies of Lemmings 2 and Zool.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Thanks.
No,
thanks, Gran or whoever it was you said it was.
Yeah, it was my grandmother's Nanny Dot, my dad's mum.
Nanny Dot. That's a good name.
Yeah, she looked like Winston Churchill.
Oh, right. Oh well. Still can't have it all, can you?
She did look like a Winston Churchill drag act. There we go. We're getting disc 2 now. Yeah.
What a horrible piece of music that is.
A lot of them. I think you can tell which tracks are Tim's and which are not in Lemmings. I think it's very, very easy to discern.
I mean, I don't know who Tim is. The only reason I know that there was anybody called Tim is that the music's all called Tim 1 and Tim 2.
Alright, so that's disc 2 obtained. And I've now put disc 1 in slot 1 and disc 2 in slot 2.
Good. That's how we do it.
That is how we do it. I'm also checking to make sure I do have the expanded configuration, so we'll get slightly better music. Or we'll get awful music.
Thank goodness.
This is the exact copy of Lemmings that I had as a kid. So this is how I finished it with all these unlimited things turned on by default.
Brilliant. If I'm supposed to be able to see it, I can't. I can just see the big Lemmings folder.
You're right. I've got my bottom screen blocked.
Yeah, it's fine on the actual stream, but
there you go.
Yes, there we go. Now
there we go. I changed the gradient in the background because I don't know if people have been paying attention to that, but I change that gradient every time we stream, and I did want it to go red to blue for Spider-Man, but I couldn't find a red to blue gradient that didn't look absolutely awful when compressed for the stream. So I think this is the cracked edition that I had as well. This intro
does the space? I couldn't hear it because I didn't have the music, but does the space cracktro go something like?
Yes.
Yeah,
that's the one. We start with fun. It's going to be too easy. Let's go with tricky. Because all the fun levels are here's how Lemmings works. The first 20, the first I think 5-10 levels teach you how to use all the individual tools, and then the next teach you how to use them in combination. And then
I'm not sure I ever actually got as far as trying the harder levels. I think I just look at that. Yes, it turns your mouse pointer into a sleepy lemming.
Yeah. This is the first stream we've done where we've put a third game on. I'm going to have to update the artwork.
Oh dear, yeah. Let's go! Me and my friend once ripped the soundtrack WAV or whatever format they used to be in those days for Lemmings 2, I think it was. And we discovered that it's one sample that the game just plays regions of. So when you rip it and fire it up in Pro Tracker, it's like, let's go! You know, it does everything very fast. And of course we slowed it down.
Oh no! He died. I got to start that again. I started building the bridge too soon, or did not continue building it, so he fell to his death. It's a rookie Lemmings mistake, frankly. I'm upset with myself.
So when you slow down the voice of a lemming, it's first of all we thought we decided it sounded like a woman. I don't know if maybe we didn't slow it down as much as we should have, but I think it was voiced by a woman, and she goes, "Let's go." And that's what her voice sounds like. Oh no!
Yeah,
and it's nice to. Her voice is. It's embedded in my memory, almost I'd say more than the actual sped up sound of a lemming saying "Let's go." I don't know why that is. I think it just. I don't know. I think it must have just been such an experience that it really lodged itself in there.
I remember playing with the frequencies and playback speeds of the speech banks in Worms a lot when I was a kid to try to figure out who it was. And along that subject, it's not quite the same thing, but I discovered a friend of mine down in San Diego did voices for, I think, Worms 4 Mayhem, which was the second of the 3D Worms games. So he's in that. He does a bunch of voiceover work. He's in that. Look at this. I used to call this the millipede when I was a kid.
Nice.
The Lemmings millipede. And the one of the things I like about newer Lemmings games that you don't get with the old one is the fast forward function.
Yeah.
We now have to watch this furry caterpillar slowly march towards the exit.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to the toilet now, so you chat to them for a moment, Ben.
I'm not going to stop you.
You can try as hard as you want.
But I'm not gonna.
Cool. Well, don't then. Fine.
Good, fine. Stop. Don't go. Stop. Come back, David. Please. He's gonna go to the bathroom. And it's his, you know what? He's allowed. He's allowed to go to the bathroom. I'm not. I'm not allowed. I said that like I didn't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the bathroom. There's that thing on the wall behind Dave. You see that thing? It looks like a light switch. Well, it looks like it's above the light switch, and it looks like it might be a Super Mario 3D diorama. And I've been dying to ask Dave what that is, but I keep forgetting to. So someone in the chat wants to bring that up when he gets back. In fact, you know what? If all of you ask, "Hey Dave, what's that thing on the wall behind you?" If you all ask that, it will weird him out. And I think that ultimately is worth the gentle confusion he will experience. That's something I think we need to do. So when he gets back, after he's done his introductions or whatever it is he's going to do, just ask him, "Hey Dave, what's that thing on the wall behind you?" Those words exactly. I can't see what the chat says right now, but I'm hoping you're all giving me tacit agreement, and no one's going to grass me up and say, David, Ben said we all have to say this thing. Please don't do that. Don't ruin my fun. I have so little in my life right now. Give me this. Give me this magic. This is such a tedious level. I hate doing this one. It is actually possible to... Oh, no. I can do it. If you set the time to 20, you can do it so you only have to do every other one, which is something of a mercy. Because it's just high enough that if they just fall off the edge, they'll die. So you have to dig down, and it's tedious to do all of them. So if you set the drop rate to 20, you only have to do every other one. It's something of a relief. But this level repeats itself a few times with more lemmings, so it's possible to fail this even if you get it perfect. If you run out of land, they'll just fall into the lava, or they'll just fall off the edge and die. How many are left? 1. I'm hesitant to do too much of a gap, to be honest, because I don't want to risk any of their tiny little lives. This is the thing. I've always loved Lemmings. I've always loved the animation. I think that's one of the things that newer Lemmings games have never been able to really capture, is the fluidity of the animation in Lemmings games. Team 17 did a remake of Lemmings for the PSP and the PS2 that is technically very nice, but the Lemmings they have a very stiff movement, and the Lemmings that's on the PS3, which was also Team 17, and the PS Vita, which was not, also very stiff. And then there's a mobile phone version of Lemmings now, which is not very good, honestly. But you lose that. There's that fluidity of animation in the originals is so key to the experience to me, because it feels organic. There's a looseness to them that feels real and believable, and that makes you want to save them. Oh, I needed more Lemmings than that, didn't I? Well, I'm going to restart this one. What I need ideally is... two. Don't forget to ask him. Don't forget. You got to ask him. It's imperative.
Hello, I'm back now.
Welcome back. It's good to have you. I was just talking about how the animation in some of the newer Lemmings games, like the PSP and the PS2 versions, is not as fluid and organic.
Not, is it? No, it was absolutely incredible to watch a lemming walk along, and his little... You could, like, even though he was about 8 pixels high, you could see what felt like individual strands of his hair bouncing about and everything.
And I think you lose that with the newer ones, unfortunately.
I mean, I feel similarly about the Worms games. I think the Amiga one still kind of looks best, even though it's nothing like as good as this.
Well, I think Worms Armageddon is one of the better looking Worms games, if I'm being 100% honest. But I think that one of the things that the newer Worms games have is they lack the pace of the newer one, of the older ones. Like
there's been 2 or 3 Worms games that I've bought on Steam and then played once because of all the long gaps.
Yeah, it's such a there's too much waiting. Like whenever you play Worms or Worms the Director's Cut on the Amiga or even the MS-DOS versions, those games like clip along at a pretty good pace. Like as you go from one turn to the next. But that's something that I think really since Worms 3D, they've never been able to get the pace right.
Yeah. Yep, definitely completely agree with that. Yeah.
It's nice. It's nice to have someone agree with me. It doesn't happen very often. So when it does, I have to live that truth.
No, you don't. I disagree. So when I first played Lemmings, it was on the Spectrum. I was a Spectrum Lemmings player.
Oh, that can't have been a fun experience.
You'd think, but it was. I was very happy to play it on the Spectrum, partly because of how supernaturally new it felt as a kind of game. It actually worked. It was fine. I can't remember there being anything wrong with it. Like when I played it on the Amiga, obviously that was better, but mainly it just felt better because it was in color. It was my memory at the time. I'm sure if I went back to look at the Spectrum version now, I'd have other things to say. However, I will go to bat for the music in the Spectrum version, and I think that any Lemmings fan ought to look it up, because it was one of the Tim tunes. They only used one. They had, because not as much memory, so they only had one tune in it. It was one of the original tunes, and it was just an absolutely gorgeous version of it. I actually prefer it to the Amiga version, mostly because it's just, I like the sound of an A chip, But, God, it was nice.
Oh, I like the sound. I do like an A chip, I tell you that. Oh, I love me an A chip.
I wouldn't turn down an A chip. Wouldn't kick that out of bed for beeping.
What's going on in the chat? I haven't been able to watch it because I've been playing the game.
Good question. I'll have a look, but I must warn you at this stage that my tea's about ready, so I'll be going very soon. And,
well, you let me know when you want to call it, and we'll call it.
Okay, will do. Mickey Husky asks, "Hey Dave, what's that thing on the wall behind you?" Good question. Also, Tanuki Billy and Alvo asked that, and Mark, everybody seems to agree that they want to know the answer. What's the thing on the wall?
I guess which thing are they talking about? Because I see there's the...
loads of things on the wall behind me.
I think, is it possible they're talking about the thing that's on the beam to the right of the door? The thing that looks like it might be a if I had to speculate, I'd say it's a Super Mario diorama of sorts.
Yeah, it is. You're correct. Oh. Yes, that's a Mario's in the clouds coming off a beanstalk diorama. Correct.
There we go.
Yeah, I've got another one so close to me that I can aim my camera at it. In a moment. Ready? Here we go.
All right, let's do this.
Let me look at the live picture so that I know what I'm doing. There we go. There's a Mario diorama. And also above it, "Happy 20th birthday, Mario." It says on a thing that I put up there when it was Mario's 20th birthday. He's up to about 35th now. That probably wants changing.
Well, it's nice that he's keeping track of these things. Sonic the Hedgehog has his 30th coming up soon.
Yes.
Good for him.
Correct. Yeah. So there you go. But was that what they meant in the chat?
I think it must be, because if I'm being completely honest, I did ask everyone in the chat to ask you that.
Ah, I see.
Yes.
So it was you that wanted to know, not them.
Yes, and then I asked literally everyone to ask, which is why it came up so many times.
Right.
I've just drowned a lemming. All right, well, I can fix that. I'll fix it in post.
I've now told them they do not need to be any more specific, having just told them that they did.
There we go. We got there in the end.
Tanuki Billy asks, what came first, the game or the animal? It was the game.
Oh, no, I think they named the animal after the game, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
They were like, what do we call these things? They're just like those little guys in the game that walk along, and sometimes one of them blows up.
And then Ben's bad at it.
Yeah.
I do remember finally finishing this game as a kid. Oh no! I made the same mistake I made last time.
I love how this game has influenced you to say "oh no" every time you do something bad.
Yeah, it's an ingrained reaction to drowning lemmings, I think.
Oh, I want to add my on-stream weight to this. Mark M in the chat said, "For anyone that loves the old Amiga mod music, search for Amiga Music Captain Space Debris. Thank me later." I fully echo that sentiment. Do go and look for Captain Space Debris on YouTube. You will not be disappointed.
If I am disappointed, who do I complain to?
the board, but you won't be.
Which board?
The board.
Those fools at the Institute.
I'm now looking at the Spectrum version of Lemmings, and it's not at all as I remember. it's much worse looking than I thought it did. But they do still have the animation. You can still see the hair bouncing and everything. It's quite an achievement. It's just slow.
Yeah. I do remember that the Commodore 64 version came out in 1993.
Oh.
Which was a good 2 to 3 years after it came out on the Amiga.
Yes, how strange. I wonder... Yes, that's actually, yes. When did I have the Spectrum? That is my dinner ready, Ben.
All right.
So
that's
we're going
us.
to have to go. That's us.
That is us. This, as always, this has been a delightful streaming experience.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure. Let's do this again soon, probably on another Sunday.
Probably on another Sunday, yeah.
Maybe even next Sunday, if your schedule allows.
Probably.
Because mine does. I'm going to spend all... So next weekend, I'm recording the 3rd episode of a Dungeons & Dragons project that I'm doing with FilmJoy. And then, and I may not be doing these in this order, but I'm also recording a 2-part Game of Rassilon serial, which is going to be the first serial we do. We introduced a new companion very recently, so we have we now have 3 people in the TARDIS, the Doctor and 2 companions, but the companions have not made it. The way we release the podcast, we record way in advance, so those episodes are not out yet. But thank you for making the time. Go and enjoy your tea. I'm going to stop the stream from this end. If you've been watching, thank you for joining us. If you haven't been, how are you watching this? And everyone have a pleasant time.